Good morning. It's so great to see so many of you here today and to have even more joining us remotely around the world. We've closed all of the retail stores in the world right now, and they are all with us as well. Before I get started, I'd like to recognize a very special guest. Steve's wife, Lorene Powell-Jobs, has joined us today. Lorene? Lorene not only brought Steve great strength, but all of us as well. Particularly over the last couple of weeks. As I have, and I know that many of you have, we've been spending a lot of time mourning Steve's passing. The last 2 weeks for me have been the saddest of my life by far. But I know Steve, and Steve would have wanted this cloud to lift for Apple and our focus to return to the work that he loves so much. So it's with that spirit that we wanted to get the entire company together today to celebrate Steve's extraordinary life and the many accomplishments he had across his life. People all over the world have been deeply moved by his passing, and many have spoke of what he meant to them. You've probably seen characterizations. He's been called a visionary, a creative genius, a rebel, a nonconformist, an original, the greatest CEO ever, the best innovator of all time, the ultimate entrepreneur. He had the curiosity of a child and the mind of a genius. All of these are true, and the fact that all of them were embodied in one man is amazing. But for those of us who knew and loved him, none of these words, by themselves or in total, adequately define who Steve was. The way I think of Steve's legacy is to think about the way he lived and what he left for us. He leaves us with what he did, what he said, and what he stood for. He did some amazing things, and he himself once said, to get to work on one revolutionary product in a career is extraordinary. By my count, he worked on 6. The introduction of the Macintosh in 1984 revolutionized personal computing and desktop publishing. And the ad that ran during the Super Bowl to launch the product set a benchmark for advertising that is still widely held today as the best ad of all time. With iPod and iTunes, Steve reminded all of us of our love for music, changed the way the world listens to music, and along the way, changed the entire music industry. The iPhone revolutionized the mobile phone industry and redefined what a smartphone should be. The iPhone would become the best-selling smartphone in the world, and many people around the world today can't imagine their lives without it. And just last year, with the introduction of the iPad, Apple jump-started an entirely new product category that no one thought they needed, and now no one can live without. And along the way, he created the best animation studio called Pixar and taught us that cartoons weren't just for kids. And if that wasn't enough, he initiated a retail strategy for Apple that would set a benchmark for all retailers around the world to strive for. Throughout his life, he he said truly profound things that have provided me and so many others a guiding light. He said, simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. He said, technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields us the result that makes our hearts sing. He said, if you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should just do something else wonderful, not dwell on it for too long. Just figure out what's next. And finally, he said, my model for business is the Beatles. They were four guys who kept each other's kind of negative tendencies in check. They balanced each other, and the total was greater than the sum of the parts. That's how I see business. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. I personally admire Steve, not most for what he did or what he said, but for what he stood for. The largest lesson I learned from Steve was that the joy in life is in the journey, and I saw him live this every day. Steve never followed the herd. He thought deeply about almost everything and was the most unconventional thinker I have ever known. He always did what he thought was right, not what was easy. He never accepted the merely good. He would only accept great, insanely great. He valued beauty in everything and insisted that everything that Apple do be beautiful. He believed the future does not belong to those who are content with today and pushed himself incredibly hard and those around him to achieve more. This is the way he lived, and these are the things he leaves us: what he did, what he said, and what he stood for. But there is one more thing he leaves us. He leaves us with each other, because without him, Apple would have died in the late 90s, and the vast majority of us would have never met. Other than his family, Apple would be his finest creation. He thought about Apple until his last day. And among his last advice he had for me and for all of you was to never ask what he would do. Just do what's right, he said. He said he saw Disney paralyzed after Walt Disney's passing, as everyone spent all of their time thinking and talking about what Walt would want. And he did not want this to occur at Apple. When Steve came back to Apple, he wanted to create an ad that would reestablish and remind us of our core values and beliefs. And it was meant more for the employees of the company than for the customers of the company. We didn't have any great new products to talk about yet, as those would come a year later with the iMac. So we worked with our ad agency to create a campaign that featured some of his greatest heroes. Steve was involved in carefully crafting every word of this ad, and these words touched the bottom of his soul. The version that we all watched on TV was read by Richard Dreyfuss, but what you may not know is that Steve also read a version but chose not to run that version because he did not want it to be about him. He wanted it to be about Apple. I personally heard this version for the first time after he passed away and was very deeply moved by it. And I would like to play the audio of The Crazy Ones as read by Steve so you can hear the words he wrote and in his voice.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Let's join together for a moment of silence and reflect on what Steve meant to each of us and to the world. Thank you. You know, looking out at everyone, Steve would have loved this. I can tell you that. I'd now like to introduce the next speaker. Bill Campbell was a longtime executive of Apple. Many of you know Bill. He's been a member of our board of directors since 1997, since Steve returned, and he is a very dear friend of Steve's. He is someone Steve often reached out to for advice and counsel, and his contributions to Apple and to the many individuals in Apple have been countless. He is fondly known as the coach, from both his days at Columbia as head football coach, his tireless efforts supporting local sporting teams, and his unselfish mentoring of so many of Silicon Valley's executives. We are thrilled that he's with us today. Bill?
Thanks, Tim. Wow. Wow. I'm humbled by this. Humbled for the opportunity to have my time to talk about Steve, my friend. I came to Apple in 1983. I had been at Kodak in Europe. I worked almost immediately with Steve and his team on the Mac. Oh my goodness, what an experience. Steve challenged everything, forced me to have answers as to why. Experience didn't matter, great ideas mattered. Nothing is what it was. Not because he wanted it to be different. He just wanted it to be better. He wanted it to be great. Everything we did, every ad, every retail communication, every detail in every product, inside or outside, I learned and I learned from him. When I was in sales, he wanted the sales organization changed. He wanted the people in the sales organization to look like the rest of us. We had manufacturers rep firms that he was unhappy with. We made a change in the summer and hired 400 people that matched his sense of what kind of people should be at Apple. Think about the brilliance of the Macintosh, the difficulty we had in getting it accepted. Think about the things that he did to make sure that the Macintosh was accepted in universities. The Apple University Consortium committed Macintosh penetration for generations. Tim mentioned desktop publishing, laser printer, PostScript, his fanatic approach to fonts, desktop publishing. Then the Mac stalled. Scully pushed him out the door. He was gone. Tragic. Apple. Apple was done. I left shortly after. We've always kept in touch. When he was at Next, he used to challenge me all the time, "Why are you still there?" Taking your first class travel and limos to the airport. Get the hell out of there, do something important. During that time, he met Lorraine, and it changed his life. And all of us here now participated in a miracle. Apple bought Next. He was back. And he allowed me to be part of it. August 1997. Then I learned even more. He changed. Yes, he had been charismatic, passionate, brilliant. But I watched him become a great manager, and I learned from that. Detailed in everything. Products, of course, but the way he ran the finance organization, what he did with operations, logistics, and having Tim there, somebody that shared his vision of how an operation should be run, made us all better. You read all about this last week. Those things that he saw things that others couldn't see. He had an incredible mind. Conceptual, logical. Think about the great things that Tim mentioned. Apple stores, iPod, iTunes, iPhone, iPad. He dismissed as arrogant the technology leaders in the world who thought that we were all stupid because we couldn't use these devices. And he said, we're stupid if they can't use these devices. He saw the future. We'd walk and he would talk about things that I could never even conceptualize. And nothing would deter him. He pushed everyone. He pushed me, he pushed the board constantly. What a leader he became. He hired great people. And they did the same. And look, right, left, front, back, you're it. The results counted. You are the people who made this happen. It's a company without politics. When he knew about 7.5 years ago about his illness, he didn't sulk. He fought. He fought hard. He loved Apple so much, probably only a shade less than he loved his family. He was feisty. He challenged us all. He liked, he loved, he gave. He learned. He taught us all. He demanded excellence in everything he created. And in those 7.5 years, As he became more vulnerable, he made sure that those that he loved, those were closest to him, knew it. To those people, he exuded the phenomenal warmth, humor. He confided, he shared. A true friend. Yes, I'm a member of the board, and he loved his board. He did. And when he wanted to step down as CEO, he wanted to do it personally. He came in to talk to us. And then he stayed for the board meeting, the presentations that were going on. And he always had that wonderful warmth with us that we just were so attracted to him by. Scott Forstall was demoing the new phone. And he was demonstrating Siri. And Scott did it a couple of times, and Steve was across the room, and he said, "Let me have that phone." And Scott said, be careful now. I have this pretty much attuned to my voice. Give me the phone." So Scott goes around and hands him the phone. Steve asks a couple benign questions, and then he says, "Are you a man or are you a woman?" And Siri came back and said, "They have not assigned me a gender, sir." He loved all of us that had anything to do with Apple. Thank you all very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Bill. That story on Siri is true. I witnessed that, by the way. That is not a made-up story. We are blessed today to have two really special musical guests to pay tribute to Steve. Our first is someone who Steve fell in love with her voice and her music even before she won 10 Grammy Awards and sold 40 million albums. We are so lucky she took time today to spend time with us and honor Steve. Please join me in welcoming our friend, Norah Jones.
It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It isn't your sweet that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. When you're in my arms and I feel you so close to me, all my wildest dreams came true. I need no soft lights to enchant me. If you will only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight, and to feel in the night the nearness of you. If I were a painter, I would paint my memory. If that's the only way for you to be with me, we'd be there together, just like we used to be, underneath the swirling skies for all to see. And I'm dreaming of a place where I could see her face, and I think my brush would take me there, but only if I were a painter and could paint a memory. I'd climb inside the swirling skies to be with you. And I'm dreaming of a place where I can see your face, and I think my brush would take me there, but only if I were a painter and could paint a memory. I'd climb inside the swirling skies to be with you. I'd climb inside the skies to be with you. Thank you. Steve was a music lover, I think we all know that, and he was always very kind to me. And I know he loved Bob Dylan, so I'm going to do this Bob Dylan song. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy, may your feet always be swift, may you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful, and may your song always be sung, and may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May you stay forever young.
She's fantastic, isn't she? Steve built one of the best board of directors in the world and asked former Vice President Al Gore to join a little over 8 years ago. As many of you know, Al has been a champion for our environment for almost 40 years, well before it was cool to do so, and was awarded the Nobel Prize in 2007 for these efforts. He's been a very important advisor to Apple and a very good friend to the Jobs family. Please welcome former Vice President of the United States, Al Gore.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tim, and to all of you. It is a beautiful sight from up here to see all of you in this beautiful space on this beautiful day. Lorene, we are all here for you as well, and God bless you and your family. You all know the story of Steve Jobs. You know the extraordinary life he lived. You were part of it, each in your own way, every single one of you. Tim and Bill spoke eloquently about his accomplishments, about him as a person. I want to spend just a few minutes talking about the emotions we've all felt and the outpouring that we've all experienced coming from all over the world, and what that wave of emotion means for Apple and what it means for each one of you. I saw it at the Nashville Apple Store, as people have seen it in Apple stores all over the world. You felt it here in Cupertino. It was felt in homes and businesses and dormitories and places in every part of this world. And many commentators were surprised by the intensity and the power of this wave of emotion. What was it? Grief, yes. Respect, honor. But I think that at its core, there was something truly unexpected. And I think it was truly love. One technology writer, Jonathan Weber, wrote this: "In any competition for the most effective and influential businessman of our era, Jobs wins hands down. No one else is even close." But he went on to write, he did something more cosmic than any of that. Jobs has proven to be the one and only person in the world who can create technology products that people love. And love is actually the right word. Speaking of love in the context of technology is tricky, because the technology doesn't love us. One of my closest friends has a girlfriend who asked Siri just the other day, "Siri, do you love me?" And Siri responded, "I respect you." But people can experience love in the use of technology that erases the barriers between them and what it is they want to connect to. These notes that were posted at the stores and here at headquarters and in various places are displayed, some of the messages, on these screens around the plaza here. And I was transfixed walking over just by one of them, one right after another. I'm sure many of you have read them. And I collected a few of them. Mary Beth wrote, "Steve, we love you. Thank you for everything you have done for us." Francisco Valenzuela Huerte from Santiago, Chile, wrote, "In this picture you can see my grandma, who died of cancer a month ago, using a MacBook Pro to talk for the last time to my sister, who is living in Belgium. My grandmother wasn't into computers at all, but she was pretty much able to communicate with ease with her granddaughter, thanks to the intuitive technology developed and inspired by Steve Jobs." A mother wrote of her 4-year-old, "Thank you, Steve, for creating a product that brought my 4-year-old daughter into the world of technology. My iPhone was the first device she learned to use, and she loves using it to this day. I will think of you every time I see her face light up while using your product." Charles wrote, "We love you, Steve. Enjoy watching us on cloud." When he left us, he took with him the love of millions of people. And I think that the love that people felt for Apple came in part because of the love that went into perfecting products that erased the barriers. Some of you may have seen an article a few weeks ago by a neuroscientist who wrote in the New York Times how he had begun studies with the brain scanning machines to explore whether or not technologies like the iPhone and the iPad are addictive. And to his surprise, he found no, the parts of the brain that lit up were not those associated with addictive behavior. What happened instead was that there was a flurry of activity in the insular cortex, and he wrote, exactly in the areas that are activated by the experience of love. Many have noted the irony that millions heard the news or read or saw the news of Steve's passing on their iPhones or iPads or iPod Touches or on their Macs. And if that emotion was activated in their hearts, there are in that sense millions of pieces of Steve Jobs' heart out there all over the world. You have helped in important ways to create the joy and love that people associate with what Apple does. So what of the future? Beginning 6 or 7 years ago, in every single board meeting, Steve began to devote the same intense focus he contributed to everything else to preparing for the time when he might, as he said, retire and become chairman. He put it in different ways, but what he meant was he knew that he had to prepare the succession. And he spent so much time with Tim Cook, talking with him, as Tim said, about how he shouldn't ask what Steve would do. But he gave essentially the advice he gave in that magnificent commencement address at Stanford: follow your own inner voice. He has prepared and groomed the executive team to continue. They are the best in the entire world, bar none. And so are you. They and you have already proved it, and they and you will prove it again and again. If you love Steve, as I did, and if you are part of Apple, as I am, then you understand deep in your heart already what you must become, as Steve also put it. And you know that the best way to fully express and animate that love is to direct its flow full force into the creativity and passion that lives inside the insanely great products that you design, engineer, manufacture, and market. The ones that are connecting with the hearts and minds of millions of people today, and the new ones soon to come that millions of people will fall in love with all over again. One of the messages on the screen I was watching on the way over here said, "Steve, you left not just new technology, but a spirit." Steve's spirit lives in that love that people all over the world have for the work that you do. Of all his creations, the iPod and iTunes, the Mac, the iPad, all of them, I believe the greatest is Apple. So keep and nurture the commitment to true, uncompromising excellence that is Apple. Keep on skating to where the puck will be. Keep on listening to your own inner voice. Keep on insisting that good is not enough, that even great is not enough. Keep insisting that Apple products truly be insanely great. Keep making what people don't even know yet will transform their lives for the better. Products that they will fall in love with over and over again. You are part of a rare and precious group of men and women who have the privilege of giving the world a chance many times every day to feel the love for what they do. Tim mentioned that the Beatles were the business model for Steve, so I want to end with a quote that I heard in a new way. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make.
Thanks, Al. Johnny Ive, who really needs no introduction in front of this group, our Senior Vice President of Design, and Steve shared a very special relationship, both personally and professionally. They were very close friends, and many of you probably saw them having lunch together in Cafe Max, talking about the latest product ideas. Johnny's been with Apple for almost 20 years, leading the best design team on the planet, and has contributed to our most innovative products. Johnny has some things he'd like to share with you today. Johnny?
You know, Steve used to say to me, and he used to say this a lot, "Hey, Johnny, here's a dopey idea." And sometimes they were. Really dopey. Sometimes they were truly dreadful. But sometimes they took the air from the room and they left us both completely silent. Bold, crazy, magnificent ideas, or quiet, simple ones, which in their subtlety, their detail, they were utterly profound. And just as Steve loved ideas and loved making stuff, he treated the process of creativity with a rare and a wonderful reverence. You see, I think he, better than anyone, understood that while ideas ultimately can be so powerful, they begin as fragile, barely formed thoughts, so easily missed, so easily compromised, so easily just squished. You know, I loved the way that he listened so intently. I loved his perception, his remarkable sensitivity, and his surgically precise opinion. I really believe there was a beauty in how singular, how keen his insight was, even though sometimes it could sting. As I'm sure many of you know, Steve didn't confine his sense of excellence to making products. You know, when we traveled together, we would check in, and I'd go up to my room, and I'd leave my bags very neatly by the door, and I wouldn't unpack. And I would go and sit on the bed. I would go and sit on the bed next to the phone. And I would wait for the inevitable phone call. Hey, Johnny, this hotel sucks. Let's go. He used to joke that the lunatics had taken over the asylum as we shared a giddy excitement, spending months and months working on a part of a product that nobody would ever see, well, not with their eyes. But we did it because we really believed that it was right, because we cared. He believed that there was a gravity, almost a sense of civic responsibility, to care way beyond any sort of functional imperative. Now, while the work hopefully appeared inevitable, appeared simple and easy, it really cost. It cost us all, didn't it? But you know what? It cost him most. He cared the most. He worried the most deeply. He constantly questioned, is this good enough? Is this right? And despite all his successes, all his achievements, he never presumed, he never assumed that we would get there in the end. When the ideas didn't come, and when the prototypes failed, it was with great intent, with faith, he decided to believe we would eventually make something great. But the joy of getting there, I loved his enthusiasm, his simple delight, often I think mixed with some relief. But that, yeah, we got there in the end, and it was good. You can see his smile, can't you? The celebration of making something great for everybody. Enjoying the defeat of cynicism, the rejection of reason, the rejection of being told 100 times you can't do that. So his, I think, was a victory for beauty, for purity, and as he would say, for giving a damn. He was my closest and my most loyal friend. We worked together for nearly 15 years, and he still laughed at the way I said aluminium. For the past 2 weeks, I think we've all been struggling to find ways to say goodbye. This morning, I simply want to end by saying thank you, Steve. Thank you for your remarkable vision, which has united and inspired this extraordinary group of people. For all that we have learned from you, and for all that we will continue to learn from each other, thank you, Steve. We wanted to make this day very special for the whole Apple family, to honor and to remember Steve. Now, our next guests have made Herculean efforts to be with us here today. We are so very grateful that they have moved very, very big mountains to join us. As you know, Steve loved music, and as you would expect, he had discriminating taste. He loved their music, and he watched them grow over the years into one of the biggest bands on the planet. And along the way, he found out that they were really super lovely guys. He would be so excited about them being with us here today. Will you please help me welcome our friends, Coldplay.
Thank you so much, everybody. What a treat to be here. We played this song for Steve 10 years ago, and he said it was shit. He said we'd never make it. Well, a few years ago we came to San Francisco for the first time, and my laptop was broken. And we were playing the Shoreline, which is around the corner, and I said, my laptop is broken, I need somebody to fix it. And a guy called Jimmy, who we now know very well, said, well, that's convenient because Steve Jobs is in your dressing room. So I said to him, listen, I've got a point to pick with you, my G, whatever it was, is bust. And he simply turned the power switch, and it was fixed. And he charged me $3,000. So he was a businessman at heart, but a lovely fellow. And anyway, to return the favour, he also let us do an iTunes commercial, which most of you helped us do. And we're going to play the song from that now. Please, take it away. Thank you so much, everybody. Steve wants you to get back to work. I'm going to name drop in a big way now. Last week we were in South Africa, and the news came through about Steve, and everybody was very sad, of course. And it happened that the big man himself, not God, Bono, was in South Africa also. And we talked about Steve a lot and how much he'd been gracious to both of our bands. And this is called Fix You. When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in reverse, when the tears come streaming down your face, 'cause you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone but it goes to waste, what could be worse? Oh, the lights will guide you home and rewrite your bones. I Thank you, everybody. Would you like us to go, or should we just do one more, a happy one? I don't know if that was a yes or a no, but we're going to stay. Okay, well, this is our last song, and then we'll leave you to it. Thank you so much for having us, and I know it's an emotional day for everybody, for us too, and this is our last song. This is about grabbing every day and treating it like your last, which I think Steve embodied more than anybody. That's all. Goodbye. Have a great day.
Shut the world outside until the lights come on. Maybe the streets are alive, maybe the trees are gone, but I feel my heart start beating to my favorite song. And all the kids they dance, all the kids all night until Monday morning seems another life. I turn the music up, I'm on a roll this time, and heaven is inside.
Thank you, Coldplay. That's a tough act to follow. Steve made our world a better place, and he left his fingerprints all over society, all over the world. He also leaves behind a company that only he could have built, and a spirit that will be the foundation of this company forever. There's no words in the Webster that will express the sadness or our gratitude for the opportunity to have worked with the world's best genius. Steve, we will miss you forever, and we will honor you and your memory by dedicating ourselves to doing the work that you love so much. I am so glad that we could get everyone in the company together today for this very important day. Steve would have loved it. It would have been important to him. It's very important to the leadership team, and I know that it's very important to you. Before we close, I'd like to really thank Katie and her team for pulling off an incredible event, and Phil and Hiroki's team, and Eddie's team for getting this incredible entertainment, and Johnny and the love that he put into the event, and Johnny, Al, and Bill for speaking. And thank all of you for joining us today. Thank you.